Hello and welcome to another virtual town hall meeting for Brookline businesses and nonprofits. I'm Raul Fernandez, Select Board Member, Chair of the Small Business Development Committee, joined here by some members of our committee, as well as Kara Bruton, Director of Economic Development for the town. Meredith Mooney is taking a much needed break in advance of town meeting, which is quickly closing upon us. And so good for her. She certainly deserves it. Speaker Meredith, her leadership in seeking a permanent change to our bylaws, things like to permit year-round outdoor dining in Brookline so far is going really, really well. Thanks to many of you for providing letters of support at various public hearings. And so that's going to be coming to town meeting, which starts on May 19th and will go a series of days, probably about 4 days. Who knows, maybe longer. We're all seeing more and more people in our lives being fully vaccinated. I got my second Pfizer shot on Monday, so I'm double vaxxed, very excited about it. I don't know about you, but I also start to see more folks reuniting, getting together, which is a good thing, and looking for safe things to do. Certainly, anecdotally walking around, even just Coolidge Corner or JFK on the weekends, we've seen a lot more people out and about, which is good for our purposes, certainly. The state's reopening plan advancing. The governor announced that it would be still likely until August where full occupancy is allowed, but he's also indicated that could change based on additional COVID data in May. So stay tuned for that. And we'd like to use today to know more about what you're seeing out there, how we can best help you over these next couple months. So really looking for feedback from you today. Before I turn it over to Kara, I've seen some of you cross-posting to other businesses on social media. Great way to demonstrate a sense of community. I'd like to ask you to consider the month of May, which is AAPI month, and join me, Representative Donald Wong, who chairs the Mass House Asian Caucus, in tagging AAPI-owned businesses at Asian Caucus MA and the hashtag Shop AAPI Month. We've got a lot of phenomenal Asian-owned businesses in Brookline, and we certainly want to bring attention to them and to support them during this month. So with that said, Kara, I'll turn it over to you for now.
Great. Good morning, everybody. So I have a couple of announcements. First off, the local rapid recovery program. We've talked about this a little bit before. That's a state grant that Meredith got for us. This process starts with gathering data and asking questions with the business community, and will end with making recommendations of a set of actionable, well-developed projects that reflect COVID recovery needs, but especially community priorities. What do you guys want to see? And will hopefully match us with available state resources. Nothing's been announced yet, but we're kind of anticipating that by participating in this planning process this summer, we'll then be eligible for a round of not yet confirmed, but hopeful capital funding from the state this fall to actually implement some of those ideas. So the program requires us to choose one area to focus on, and we chose Coolidge Corner and JFK. You might have heard us talk at the last meeting about the survey. We did get 48 responses from businesses in the area, which is great. That was a really good result compared to other communities as well. Not that we're not competitive. And the results from that survey will be shown at a presentation on May 26th from 6 to 7:30. And that will also include next steps for the program. We'll also be doing focus groups with the business community. Those are not scheduled yet, but likely the second week of June, and notifications will come on those. The second thing I wanted to announce is there's going to be, I believe, an interesting discussion coming up with the Economic Development Advisory Board meeting on June 7th. It's going to be a retail panel, and that's going to be at 7 p.m. And the purpose is to get an update on regional and local market trends in our retail community, as well as tips for individual businesses, business associations, and us, town government. The panel is going to include Allison Yee, founder and CEO of Up Next. Some of you might remember her. She was at the November 2019 Small Business Development Committee meeting. She does retail creative collaborations. You might have seen her at the street in Chestnut Hill, Greenway. You can follow her at Popping Up Next. In addition to Allison, retail broker and kind of urban design Boston-based retail blogger, Graffito will be there, which is always fun to listen to those guys. And then Convisor, you've seen a lot of their signs, are kind of the local commercial broker in Brookline and surrounding areas. So that will be June 7th at 7 p.m., a retail panel, and we'll send out updates as we get closer and reminders. The third announcement I have today is about the small businesses, SBA restaurant grant that opened on Monday. And there are web resources, which I'm going to put into the chat box in a minute, as well as a taped kind of help webinar that they taped on YouTube, which is great. I also wanted to flag that some people that may not think that they're eligible, like caterers or bakeries, my understanding is as long as you have on-site sales of food and beverage that are greater than 33%, and that's in 2019, pre-COVID, that you might be eligible. So I'll put links to that in the chat box in just a minute. And then finally, an update on the small business relief grant funding. We anticipate to launch that in early June. You may recall the initial allocation for that last year was $200,000, and combined with a couple, two different sources of federal funding, this round we will have a little over $100,000 to offer. And thanks to the Small Business Development Committee for giving some input on scoring for this round, we will be releasing kind of the scoring rubric as well as all the information in early June. And finally, I think I'm going to try to put my puppy down and and do a Jamboard session with you guys. This is new to me to run, so please be patient. But what I'm going to do is put in the chat box a link. And if you don't have access to your internet right now, other than this one Zoom window, that's okay. You can respond in the chat box as well. So this link is to a Jamboard, and it's just going to be it's a Google document tool, and it'll be a helpful way for us to ask you questions and to share ideas. So I'm going to share my screen just to kind of demonstrate what that looks like if you're able to open it. There's basically just a couple of different boards that you can look at, and it's great. I see a bunch of you are already on, which is wonderful. So the way this works is you go down to the fourth icon here, what looks like a sticky note. You can just click on it. You can type in whatever you like and then choose a color. If you want to be really fancy, hit save. And then you can move that around as we share different documents. And again, if you have difficulty doing this, just write your answers in the chat box and we'll stick them on a sticky note for you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys and pay attention to the chat screen. If we go to that first, after the introductory slide, on the second page there, you can hit the right arrow. And I'm asking, what percentage of customers are you seeing in your stores this year compared to the same time last year? And you can just put a little sticky note or use text and spend a couple minutes answering that question. This kind of checking in and getting data from you guys directly is helpful for us when we're talking to select board members, state representatives, that kind of thing.
Hey, Kara, just so you know, my settings it was set to view only when I went on. I'm seeing at least Jen maybe is getting the same. So if you can, I requested access, but maybe if you can change the settings so that it's available to anyone to edit, that'd be great.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Hold on just a second.
Nope.
Yeah, the same thing was happening to me.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, now I see the settings.
Great.
On the side. Great.
Huh.
I'm still not seeing the settings on the side.
Try refreshing.
Yep, I also put a new link at the bottom if that's helpful. Let's see how this goes.
So should we be on slide number 2 at this point? I see.
Yes, slide number 2, please. Yep. And you should be on the left. You can click on a sticky note and should be able to type in an answer or related thought. I see Roxy here, not open yet.
It's even in our colors. Now, does it come tagged with me as a business or not?
If you'd like to, or you can remain anonymous, whichever you'd like to do.
Okay. So if I go back to that, let's see. I can't move it any longer. Oh.
And you can also use the chat box if you'd like. We'll spend a couple more minutes on that one. Thank you, David. I see Eureka. You're down 35% from this time compared to, I put last year, but I assume, David, what we're meaning is pre-COVID.
Right, because last year at this
Thank
point
you.
in time, the store was closed. There was nobody coming in here.
Yeah.
So, and I presume here what you're really looking for is store, traffic as opposed to web business or anything else.
Yes,
Because
but
our
let's,
entertainment business, for instance, is at 0% compared to where it was last year, or 2 years ago.
yeah. Can you say that last part again?
Oh yeah, so our entertainment business is at 0% compared to actually last year and the year before. The store traffic is down about 35%. Web business compared to last year is also at this point way down, because last year we had a huge flurry of local deliveries and internet sales.
Great. And I see Roxy in the chat box is also including about approximately 25% for online outdoor program engagement. So that's good. We can come back to these. You guys can add more if you'd like. The next slide, so the third slide is, I'm asking, how often are you having to ask customers to wait outside or schedule an appointment due to the state's 50% occupancy limit?
So, Tara, I have a question here. I understand that the occupancy limits actually are changing. My understanding is that I found that they were being calculated, certainly for restaurants, based on the number of parking spaces that were available, as opposed to the actual square feet. What's not clear to me in that case is whether the numbers that we have for retail is also compared to parking spaces versus retail, as such that that number is a very difficult number to try and assess. Yeah,
I haven't heard anything about parking spaces. I'm sorry, I've only heard based on square footage. But I have seen some businesses ask people to wait outside. I've certainly seen lines. So however you're managing your space, if you can indicate how often you're asking customers to wait outside or schedule an appointment if your space is too crowded due to COVID.
Okay. Do that. And are you talking about, just to clarify, now, like this month versus last month?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Dan. Hold on here.
I see that Roxy is talking about how registrations for summer programs are at 60%, and that's because of mandated reductions in capacity. So that's a good example. Put that on the board. Okay, well, we can come back to this one too. We'll leave this open so you guys can respond to these after this meeting. On the fourth slide, I'm curious if you can include any tips that you can share with each other that have helped entice customers back into your store. And again, you can answer verbally on the chat or use the board if you'd like. Okay, I'm not seeing a lot of action here. On the fourth slide, we're just going to keep moving. The fifth one is if you've received a PPP loan, have you been able to complete the paperwork so that it's forgiven? And if not, what are some hurdles you are facing to be able to get that done? And I'll just go ahead and say that on the last slide, we're asking what else is on your mind that we should know. So again, those are kind of completely open-ended, that last slide. And as people add more, we might come back to this. I see that Roxy added something that's helpful, having a sidewalk sale and partnering with other businesses on the street. And that great, Station Street event that was on May 1st. So that's one example of something that's worked to get people feeling more comfortable coming back into our commercial areas. And Roxy is reporting that they've completed the paperwork for forgiveness part 1, which is great. Okay, now I see you guys populating. This is great. We'll wait a couple more minutes.
Kara, can we at least see the puppy? Let's get the puppers on here. Let's give the people what they want. Oh my God. Adorable. We can't hear you, by the way, if you're saying anything, but absolutely adorable.
Yeah, I had us both on mute. This is Isla.
Isla. Hey, Isla.
And she is 8 weeks old. And she's a pointer. Whoa.
All right. That's awesome.
Great. Well, I see a bunch of you guys now putting stuff in the board, which is awesome. I'll just open it up. Does anybody on the attendee list want to add anything, or you can just use your raise hand feature, or anybody on the panel want to jump in with additional thoughts?
Debbie, do you want to give us a sense of what you're hearing from business owners about how things are things looking up, or are folks optimistic, or are there still some concerns out there?
So that's a good question. It's very mixed. I'm hearing from restaurants, especially, that getting anybody in to help them is very difficult. It's a big challenge. And it's very, I think retail, from what I'm hearing from the retail people that I hear from, I think they're struggling. That I think people are starting to come into businesses more than they were before. Certainly when I've looked up and down the main streets, I've seen more people around, like you. So I think that I hope that that's made a difference. But I really don't know in terms of, I haven't surveyed people, and it'd probably be a good idea actually to, at this stage, to find out what that means in terms of their revenue. I just don't know.
So what I could tell you from talking with my constituents, number one, street traffic is down tremendously. There's not as much activity outside. Folks aren't walking around. You do see people going in and out of stores. At this point in time, though, I don't think anybody has actually hit a threshold that says they're comfortable, or that revenue has been replaced or at least equaled what it was in 2019. I ran some numbers here just recently and looked at, I'm running at about 200, 2016 levels, for in-store traffic, which are certainly much lower. So clearly, having people become more comfortable and be out and about is going to be important for a healthy recovery or sustained recovery.
And I watched the Advisory Council on Public Health meeting last night. It was a good discussion about the outdoor mask mandate. My understanding is for outdoors, that's going to be effectively lifted in Brookline as of May 21st. Dr. Jett wanted a little bit of time to do some education about the changes, and that is of course for folks that can distance more than 6 feet, those kinds of things. But you'll likely see there's still a lot of mask usage in heavily trafficked areas where people are passing by very closely to one another, which makes sense. But indoors, that the mask mandate at the state level as well as the local level is going to continue, of course.
Great. Well, thanks everybody, and thanks for doing that little experiment. It probably would have been easier for just us for us to chat with each other, but hopefully some of you guys can add some more thoughts as we keep going here, and also anytime you'd like over the next week or so. I also wanted to let you know that Susan Silverberg, who's a Brookline resident and does a lot of work in kind of urban design and having temporary events to get communities, really retail communities especially, up and going and exciting. She's presenting a webinar today. She's great with her marketing. Her webinar is about the secret sauce to lure visitors to your Main Street. Keep them there and have them return again and again. So that happens to be today at 1:30, and I'll put the link for that. I believe it's free. I'm going to put the link for that in the chat box if you're able to attend that. And with that, I'm going to put a couple more things in that I've talked about previously in the chat box and turn it back over to Raul.
Yeah, so now's a good time for any questions that you have or any thoughts. I'll just say about the outdoor dining. It seems to be, I've been out there a little bit myself, and I'm excited to see things continue and more expansion of outdoor dining in Brookline, which I think is a good thing. It's a good thing for us, those of us who live in Brookline, but also something to draw people to the area. Feel very confident about the warrant articles that are going before town meeting in the next couple weeks, and getting those passed as well. Those are supported by the select board and have been supported by other bodies along the way as well. So that's looking good too. And if there are other things that that folks in the business community feel like they'd like to see the town do, to better support businesses in Brookline, we'd love to hear that. And any other thoughts you have at this point. For our folks that are on camera right now, feel free to unmute and share. For the folks that are in the attendees, just raise your hand and we're happy to promote you and hear from you too.
See that Roxy is talking about the difficulties of indoor arts and entertainment industry still not being able to operate sustainably because of the distancing and other COVID related restrictions, that she's hoping for mid-fall resumption of performances, hopefully possible, and that this summer she's going to be doing outdoor performance programs, that there's ongoing funding remains essential to keep our cultural organizations in business.
Yeah, we're trying, the CCMA is trying to pull together a series of outdoor concerts or movies starting in June, probably going to be housed over at the courtyard. And so that's still moving forward. Clearly support for artists would be helpful, but also support for just some of the infrastructure requirements would be great. And we've got requests out to the state at the moment, but there are clearly some more hurdles that have to be jumped before we can actually get in some additional equipment. But I think, and from what I've spoken with other people about, the notion of having exciting and compelling things, or at least regular events, that give people a reason to come to our downtown areas, is going to be helpful in having them not simply go to that one event, but also rediscover the gems that we have here.
One of those, of course, is the Coolidge Corner Theater, which is planning to reopen as of May 13th. First, showing some older films, and then going to first run films sometime in June. So we look forward to that for sure.
So Debbie and myself have been in conversations. We're involved in a restaurant food program that we got funding from Senator Cream. We got $60,000. It's going to serve about 3,500 meals. It was going so well, we sort of thought to ourselves, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could extend this? We're in the process. We made a pitch to the foundation, and we're going to be doing community outreach in the hopes of raising $60,000 additional to be able to do another 3,500 meals. Not finalized yet, but we've been having some very good discussions, and the foundation was very receptive of our idea. More to follow.
Thank you, David. Debbie, do you have any other chamber announcements or upcoming events happening?
In addition to the restaurants for Brookline, I want to give a lot of credit to Clara Kaufman, who's also on this call. We're going to be launching Discover Brookline. It's going to be a segment on the chamber website where people who live locally, as well as people who come to visit Brookline, are going to find all kinds of interesting and exciting things about Brookline. We're going to try to bring the businesses to life. In other words, we'll be asking businesses questions like, why do you enjoy doing business in Brookline? What about Brookline do you really like? What story really encapsulates what makes your business unusual? So people will be able to come here, say, to drop off a kid to college, or maybe because they're here for the hospitals or what have you. And even if they don't know anything about Brookline and think they're just here because it's a cheaper place to get a hotel space, they're going to learn that it's a wonderful place to be. They're going to learn about our restaurants, our retail, our parks, our museums, and we're really, really excited about it. This week, as a matter of fact, we're hiring people to work on this project with us, and we're very excited about it. So you'll hear more.
That's great, Debbie. And so what's the timing on that? You think you'll announce it in the newsletter for businesses to participate in the coming weeks, or?
So you'll probably hear about it next week. This week we're getting our ducks in a row. We just got the first amount of money from the state. This is a grant from the tourism department that we applied for. And we have to have the money all spent by the end of June. So it's going to be a very quick project. So you'll definitely hear more probably next week.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And Roxy's added a couple more things in the chat that everybody should take a look at, including some information about the Coolidge Corner Theater, which hopefully will be starting their construction of it, actually expanding, sometime this summer, which is exciting. But Roxy has put a link in there to an interview that the executive director, Kathy Tallman of the theater, did yesterday with WGBH. So there's a link there. Anybody else have anything they'd like to announce or share?
So we're just filling people on sort of how we're bridging the gap between virtual events and in-person events. We have been partnering with Cobble, who has a space in the arcade, and we just launched on Monday 3 sort of pod dinners. So we're essentially leading a 5-course cheese dinner, and we're doing it at Cobble Space, and they're doing some special parts to each course, just to see if people were feeling safe to go out with people they felt safe with. And we filled all 3 of those in 2 days, seating for 8 people, and just those 8 people. And but we had a lot more response. We were just going to do one, but we thought it didn't tell us enough information. Like if we do one and it sells out, is there just one person that wanted it? But knowing that we got through 3 and that we have a wait list of about 4 people for it, it was nice to see that there is this sort of in-between need, and we're working on what that looks like. So we're kind of excited about that, and nice to like connect the Coolidge Corner to Brookline Village too, which is a nice thing. So we're going to help cross promote the 2 businesses there as well. So yeah, so that's something we've tried.
And I know that Cobble's participating or collaborating with at least another Brookline Village business for the kind of line pairings that people can do their own. And I happen to know, because I fall in that category of really wanting to hang out with more family and friend bubbles, but still a little nervous. I happen to know that their bookings at Cobble are like booked through August or something crazy. So there's definitely pent up demand, but it is still kind of in that shelf season of like, not quite ready to go to a concert, but something in between.
Yeah, it is. I actually was looking if they had an open spot, and Matt and I hit dinner last week, and they are booked through July. So I think August is the next available date, and they have people asking them all the time. So I mean, that could be something good, Debbie, too, to gosh, I don't even know where we would do it, but have a panel of how they're doing things that would be a temporary fix for some of these other restaurants if they had 2 nights a week that use this sort of slower model as well. People are willing to pay a premium for the safety and the security and knowing what's there, or even the places that aren't willing to open yet, maybe they would be willing to open for a safe pod while they still are doing their takeout or whatever else. But it's working really great for them, and it was a beautiful evening, and I didn't even know how to dress. I was like, I'll get out my fanciest sweatpants for this event. So it's fun.
We have a new business coming to Brookline Village. It's one of the former operators of Portobello Road at the street. I'm working with her right now. She seems very excited, and I think it's going to be a welcome addition to the village since we lost a clothier a little while ago. I think it's going to be a good mixture of product, ready to wear, gifts, and jewelry. And she's very excited to be taking over that space next to the Village Works.
That's great news, David. Okay, well, I think we can wrap it up. Raul, is there anything else that you'd like to say as we close up here?
Oh, the only other thing I'll say is that you also remember we have the Small Business Development Committee. We actually have our next meeting on Tuesday at 9 a.m. and you're always welcome to join us there as well. The committee is phenomenal. I mean, we have this really great committee with sort of diverse, backgrounds and interests and business owners from a variety of areas. And you see some of them right here. And one of the things that we're really like laser focused on is what does it look like to recover from this pandemic, and things that we as a community can do, the town can do, as a business community, you name it. And so that's another place to have your ideas heard. I'll just keep saying, we've got favorable conditions. The wind is at our back. The select board has been tremendously supportive of all of the ideas that have come out of the Small Business Development Committee, out of the chamber, out of the Economic Development Division. And so, it's up to us as a community to really generate more ideas and to think about what we want to do to make sure that this is a rapid recovery. So please bring your ideas there as well as to this space too, and we'll see you then. The next virtual town hall is scheduled for June 3rd, 2021 at 9 a.m. And so we hope to have this in person at some point soon. We're not quite there yet, but we also know that having things virtually like this gives people the opportunity to, for those of you that are very busy trying to run businesses during this, the opportunity to just pop in, connect, and then go back to what you need to do. So we'll be talking about what that looks like in the future. But I guess that's it for now. We're always available. Leave Meredith alone for a week. Feel free to email Kara and I anytime. We'll give Meredith a break. But please reach out with anything you need. We're here for you. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk soon.
Thank
Take care.
you.